In July of 1996, an experienced explorer was hiking through a mountain in a California park. As he made his way along the trail, something caught his eye, a small gap between the rocks, a hole so deep that he couldn't even see the bottom. Driven by that restless curiosity that only adventurers really understand, he decided to climb down and check it out. But what looked like a harmless exploration quickly turned into a nightmare. The same curiosity that pushed him forward was now threatening his life. So, what exactly did he find down there? And more importantly, did he make it out alive? Welcome back to the channel, and today we're diving into the story. The explorer I mentioned at the start was Sam Meier, a 24-year-old. He stopped in front of what seemed like just another unusual rock formation near Hidden Falls in Yosemite National Park. That area is well known for its unique geology. The Yosemite Valley was shaped by massive glaciers nearly 1 million years ago, carving out those famous U-shaped valleys we see today. And here's something cool. Almost the entire park is designated as wilderness, giving shelter to more than 400 different species of plants and animals. Sam stood under huge granite boulders, weathered by time, that had created a kind of natural opening into the ground. What he didn't know was that this hole, which looked harmless from above, was actually hiding a deadly trap waiting for its next victim. And the worst part is that Sam wasn't some casual weekend adventurer. He had years of practice climbing tough spots across California, knew how to handle rough terrain, and understood the risks of the outdoors. But on that hot July afternoon, one careless mistake changed everything and turned what should have been a normal outing into a nightmare. And the mistake he made was not the kind you'd expect from someone with his experience. You'll see why in a moment. That gap between the rocks almost seemed to call him, like an invitation he couldn't ignore. From above, it didn't look that deep, maybe 20 to 30 feet at most. Sam had brought climbing rope and the basic gear he needed to get down, plus the experience to handle it. But he forgot one crucial detail. He had no way of getting back up. No knots ready for ascending, no backup plan, and no jamar. If you don't know, a jamar is a piece of climbing gear designed exactly for this kind of situation. It locks onto the rope like a claw, letting you climb upward without sliding back down, turning the exhausting task of ascending into something controlled and safe. Every move you make, it catches and holds, giving stability even on near vertical walls or in tight spaces where you can't really use your hands or feet for support. Professional climbers always carry jamars because they literally save lives on technical climbs. Without one, trying to get back up through that narrow crack would be like climbing a steel cable with nothing to hold on to. Every move exhausting, every slip potentially fatal. And that lack of gear is exactly what made Sam's situation so desperate once you know the full story. He tied the rope to one of the big rocks and started his descent. For the first 50 feet or so, everything was fine, just stone and shadows around him. But the deeper he went, the narrower it got, and the light from above started fading. That little opening was beginning to show it was much more than it seemed. At around 75 feet, he could already tell this was deeper than he thought. That would have been the perfect moment to stop. But his curiosity and confidence pushed him further, and he kept lowering himself into the darkness. By the time he reached about 100 feet down, the gap was so tight he could touch both walls with his arms out. Even then, he was sure the bottom had to be close. But at 125 feet, instead of hitting solid ground, he dropped straight into an icy pool of water that had probably been sitting there for decades. It felt like diving into a frozen swimming pool, the kind of cold that stings your skin. If you've ever dipped your hand into a mountain stream or turned on the faucet on a freezing morning, you know exactly the kind of shock he felt. And that's when the mistake from the very beginning started to catch up with him. Now he was trapped, hanging just above the water, with no room to move without slipping back into that freezing pool. Every attempt to find some leverage only left him wetter and colder. That's when reality really hit. He was nearly 125 feet underground, surrounded by smooth granite walls, dangling above icy water with no possible escape. The rope stretched back up to a dark hole high above, completely out of reach without the right gear. The water was probably around 40 degrees Fahrenheit, maybe even colder. Being stuck at the bottom of that crack, with no way to dry off or warm up, was an immediate threat of hypothermia. Hypothermia happens when the body loses heat faster than it can produce, causing your core temperature to drop to a dangerous level. At first, your body tries to fight back with violent shivering, tightening muscles to create warmth, but that burns through energy quickly. As your temperature keeps falling, the shivering eventually stops, not because you're warm, but because your body just doesn't have the strength to keep fighting. Sam tried everything he could. He tried pulling himself up the rope with just his hands, but his arms gave out and he'd fall right back into the water. He tried pressing his feet against the walls for leverage, but the granite was too smooth, offering no grip at all. Each slip sent him plunging once more into that freezing pool. He even tried the chimney technique, wedging himself between the walls and inching upward, but the wet rock made it impossible. At first, he managed to stay out of the water for short stretches, but as he grew weaker and his hands kept slipping, he ended up spending more and more time submerged in the icy pool. His body heat was draining fast, stolen by the cold stone and the water. What started as an exciting adventure had now turned into a desperate race against time. And sadly, time was winning. In the beginning, Sam probably felt the sharp, burning cold and started shivering uncontrollably. His body was still trying to fight back, generating warmth through muscle activity, but shaking in freezing water while struggling not to sink only made him burn energy even faster. Eventually, his mind began to fog. His movements became clumsy, and even simple tasks were impossible. Even if he had thought about tying knots in the rope to climb back up, his hands were too stiff and numb to tie anything. The worst part was that Sam's disappearance didn't raise alarms right away. People who explore alone often go missing for days without anyone noticing, and Yosemite's vast wilderness swallows people all the time. Only when his friends realized he was truly missing did park rangers start searching. But for them to find Sam, someone had to notice the exact same narrow gap in the rocks that had drawn his attention. From above, there was nothing to hint at what was happening below. No screams could be heard. No signs of struggle were visible. After days of searching, the rangers finally stumbled upon the rock formation. They almost overlooked the slim gap between the boulders, but one of them noticed a rope still tied at the top. When they shined their high-powered flashlights down into the 125-foot drop, they spotted something floating in the dark water. A rescue specialist immediately descended through the narrow opening, this time with all the right equipment to get back up. Following the same deadly route Sam had taken, he reached the bottom and found Sam's body floating in the icy water, confirming the worst. Getting him out was a complicated operation. The team had to set multiple anchor points into the massive granite blocks and use pulleys and winches to carefully haul both the rescuer and Sam's body back up through the gap. The entire process took hours. What had taken Sam only minutes to descend required a whole team and an enormous effort to undo. And the saddest part of all is that it proved just how impossible it would have been for him to escape on his own. Sam died less than 165 feet away from where tourists pass by daily, admiring the park's beauty. Above ground, families were taking photos and kids were playing. That's it for today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed this story, and if you did, you'll probably like this other one that's popping up on the screen right now. Thanks for watching all the way through, and I'll see you in the next video.